Hi, and welcome to All Your Base64 belong to AL. Hey, I'm Eric, and in this video we're gonna look on how to move data in and out of Business Central to JavaScript, web services, stuff like that. And as the clickbait title suggests, this is all about Base64. I've done quite a few videos already, whereas Base64 has been involved, but I think perhaps I missed giving you guys one of the most important explanations. One of the places where you would see Base64, well, you'll not see it, but it's actually there, is in emails. So the email protocol is very, very old, and if you go deep enough, then you can actually have email that's all 7-bit, pure text, 7-bit. And so how do you send a binary attachment? How do you send some fancy images in HTML and stuff like that? It's done by Base64 encoding, and let me switch over. So here is Visual Studio Code as usual. You know that's the one I'm going to switch to, and I got some Base64 data here. If you are very used to look at Base64 page data, you will see that this starts with the classic IBOR and indicates that this is probably an image I have here. The great thing about Base64 is that what you see can fit within that 7-bit limitation of an email. So this is how you can actually get data into an email, even though this is binary, this is full bits, it can still get transported. Anyway, Business Central has an awesome support for Base64, and it's basically the way to cross the barrier. Binary is kind of strange because if we go deep enough, then what is binary data? Binary data is sitting in a RAM chip somewhere from one address to another address, and then that's the data. And back when everything was programmed in C or assembler, you had a pointer to that data and a length, and that's where your data is. But now we're working with more high-level data types. So handling binary data used to be simple in C, and now it's become more complicated. But in Business Central, we have blobs that we can store binary data in, and we can use it. But how do we get it in there? So in one of the last videos where I talked about blob storage, we use the uploader, and that's great. That's binary all the way. But let's do it differently this time. And then I'll talk about the barriers that we're crossing while we're at it. So what I have done here, apart from creating a mystery Base64 chunk of data, I have taken the blob table from the blob stores video and added a Base64 field just to make it easier to work with. I have grabbed the HTML dynamic user thing, which is basically nothing. But so I have some JavaScript, and what I would like. So let's try this out. Let's run what I have, just to kind of give you guys a explanation. By the way, this is running on version 17 because that's released now. So we can see that if I add in a record here, I've got the string, and right down here there's the blob field. So in between there I have the JavaScript control setting. So this is all good. So what I want to do first thing is that I want to use this field to populate the blob field. So let's see if we can do that. I will find the table here. So, or maybe I should do it on the page. That's probably, let's actually do it on the page. That's nicer in this case. So let's do a on validate. So when we type in this field, what we want to do is that we know that we have the blob field, and to put data into a blob field, we need an out stream. Hopefully you guys have already seen the in, out, read, write, strange directions because you're already subscribers. If you're not subscribers, this is an excellent time to just, hit the subscribe and then keep watching this video, but go back and look at the in, out, read, write video because that's only 5 minutes and quite fun. Anyway, so we need an out stream because we need to put data into a blob. So what we know is that we need to do rec.blob.create outstream. And then we need to put some data in there. But the data we have now is Base64. So what we do is that we find the code unit called convert, and we'll call it convert. Code unit one. Wow. The one code. I'm not able to spell the code unit tonight. Hang on. Oh, wait, there we go. The one called Base64 convert. If you, again, shameless plug from other videos, if you saw the video where I created a pull request to Microsoft, because the source code for Base64 convert is open source, it's sitting on GitHub, and it was, for me, it was missing some features to convert to the right text encoding. And if we now look at this one and look at it has two functions, from Base64 and to Base64. In this case, we're gonna go from because we have Base64. But if we look at this, now there is overloads for this function with text encoding. So that was the code we created in a video long time ago. Maybe I should do a follow-up on that one. Let me know if you want a small video on how the whole pull request went. Anyway, so what we know is that we have a Base64 string. So that's, but we don't want a text. So let's see what else we can do. So this is the one. So from Base64, it takes a string and an out stream. And the string is simply rec.base64. If you notice, why did I type rec and why do I have rec up here? That's because we're on 17 now. And 17 is not a fan of not using the rec. Microsoft has some challenges, and the challenge with the implicit width is that sometimes it's really hard to figure out if you're talking about a function that's here or a function that has been supplied by an extension and so on. So there's some confusion. So to remove that confusion, everything needs to be prefixed with rec. In 17, it's still optional, and you'll just get a warning. I think in 18, the warning becomes an error, or perhaps that's in 19. I can't remember right now. So you might as well start, and that's what I'm doing here. Microsoft is still kind of, see here, let me show you. So even though they have the warning, so if I add a field here, they don't put it in themselves, which is kind of sloppy. But that's, maybe they do after they watch this video. Could be. Anyway, we were up here and we were adding the convert here, and then we needed to give it the outstream, and that's it. So Oh, this code would clearly not work. Let's reverse that. So we need to create the outstream before we put something into it. So let's try. And before I try, I will go back and I'll find this great example of Base64. I'll put it into the clipboard. We deploy. And let's see what happens. So I will paste this in. We did it on validate, right? So exit the field. And X marks the spot. So the mystery Base64 is just an X. So that worked pretty well. So let's just reflect for a second on this. So imagine that we had a code unit exposed as SOAP, or the page exposed as an OData, or just an API page, somehow where we're exposing the procedure as we expose the procedure as a web service somehow. So that would kind of look like exactly what we did here. Let's basically just, I know this won't work because we don't really have a proper rec here, but just think about the example that we can expose functions for web services only with the primitive data types. So we cannot expose a stream as a web service, but we can expose a text. So we get this in as a text, and then when we get it, we convert it. And I'm using that in tons of places where one example is at a customer, they need to get, actually I have done this at several customers, they need to get a report. So they have an exposed web service, and they supply a invoice number, and then I run the report to PDF. That goes into a stream. I create a Base64 string out of stream and return that to the web service. So same thing here. So that is kind of one barrier where we come from whatever it is, and then we get into the binary data. So that's the from Base64. But I added the JavaScript. So what we can do is that we could get the image out, and see if we can get the image into JavaScript also. So in order to do that, then we need something to receive it. So we could add a, let's call it add image, and this one will again just take the string. And what we need to create a new image. So we do this in JavaScript. It's called image, and in JavaScript we can do different things. So actually, let me pause this for a second and then just create a function that's we're not going to use, but I'm going to just to kind of show you how this all plays together. So something binary, and we get this one, the Base64 txt again, and in JavaScript, so what we can do is say raw is equal, and window has a function called A to B, so ASCII to binary, I guess, that takes the thing. So now this is basically a raw string with potential data. So we can do this is the raw dot length. Well, length probably would like that, And we could do an array if we really want to touch one of the very and this is now you don't do array buffer with the length. So now we create a the closest thing we have to binary representation in JavaScript, a uint8 array. So we do for var I equals 0, while I is less than length, I plus plus, this is like programming C almost, and we do array I equal raw dot what do you code at I. So now we have a uint8 array of the data that came, the binary data that came from Business Central. If we were actually working with binary data in JavaScript, what I wanted to do on image, because on images, if I went this way with images, we need to do a lot more stuff, because then I need to decode the PNG encoding and create a canvas and draw that on the canvas and then convert the canvas into an image. That's way too complicated. I'm not going to do that. Because then we'll be typing all night. So what we can do instead here is a neat trick. So we can do image.source equal. And then this is kind of weird. So we can do data image png, and then we do base64 comma, and then we'll just add our thing here, base64 txt, and we'll use the HTML container dot append child and append the image to that one. So that's like an inline image as base64, something that HTML supports. So you can supply the image as a base64 string. So we're just building that with this. So since we added it here, we also need to add it to the user control. So we'll create a procedure called, what did you call it? Add image. Add image. And it took the B64 text. So let's go back to the page and see. Okay, so what now we have, because we're not going to cheat. No one likes a cheater. We're not going to take this thing. That would be too easy. So let's create an int string. Let's create an int string, and we'll then do rec.calc fields blob and do rec.blob.create in stream, something like that. And then we're going to do cur page.html.addImage. And remember, up here we use the from, so now we're going to use the to. So convert dot to base64, and we're just going to supply the int stream. There's tons of overloads to this one also, including some we added, so text encoding, and but we're just going to use the one that just takes an int stream. That's it, and return the text. So let's see if this works. So if this works, we should get 2 images. So let's create a new one, 200. How about that? And I forgot to put something into the, where's our friend? This one. Go back to this one. Paste. Let me see if I can make this a bit smaller so we can see both fields. I exit the field. And we got 2 exit. So now I think we need to create a tic-tac-toe game, but we're not going to do that. That's not in this video. Let me know in the comments below if you think we should create a tic-tac-toe game in Business Central. Then we needed to play itself and figure out that the only winning move is not to play. So just to be clear, let's just rehash what actually happened here. I typed the Base64 string, simulating that this came from an external source like a web service or anything. This got converted into binary and stored in the blob field. Then we took the value from the blob field and exported out, converted to Base64, and gave it to JavaScript. JavaScript put it into an image and showed it on the screen. So that's kind of two examples of how to cross a barrier with binary data. And as I said, I do this all the time. And the Base64 implementation in Business Central, the code unit I used here, is just straight .NET, so it's super fast, and I'm currently using it in another project where I can move megabytes after megabytes through Base64, and it's lightning fast still. So this is a very robust way of getting data across those barriers. So hopefully you like this. If you did, let me know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe. Lots more videos coming up. And if there's anything else that you want me to do a video on, let me know in the comments below, because this was basically not from a single request, but several of you guys asked something in this area, and that's the video on it. So until next time, have a wonderful day.